Hey, what's up, guys? So, pardon the scraggly beard. I've been out here doing stuff today, and it's December 1st, and freezing cold here in Tennessee. As you can see, I wanted to do a Barra update on the Mustang back there, but I figured I'd show you some of the progress on my son's car. This has been going on for 2 years now, I want to say. If I can find his hood, that's release. There it is. Oh, that hood's heavy. It's finally in there. So I helped him install it. He's just going to go NA for now. Even though he makes good money he works on a towboat in the Mississippi. He makes good money doing that, but he just wants to run it NA just to get it running and work out the kinks, and I guess running the motor, because if you've a part of the channel, you've seen that we built it. You know, HV rods, pistons, sleeved, block guard, the whole deal. So, oh, god dang, that's not much heavy. So anyhow, the reason for the video is a Barra update. So I want to show you some of the stuff that I've done. I know, terrible making content. I probably should make content like as I'm doing stuff and making modifications, because I'm a huge DIYer, and by no means, I'm going to say this every single time, by no means am I a professional. A lot of times I'm just figuring shit out and I'm watching other people do it, and then I just kind of, with the tools that I have, shop of horrors here. You know, I got my drill presses, engine stands, you know, I've got a variety of specialty tools over there that I get offline, and, you know, bandsaw vise. I do what I can with what I got. You know, no fancy shop over here, no fancy tools, no big backing, none of that shit. So, anyhow, some of the updates on the Barra Swapped Mustang. So, as you can see, the mock-up motor is out. It's sitting over there on a pallet. And what I've done is I've go ahead and I've finished up all the mounting on the front for the most part, unless there's something else that needs mounted. I don't know what that would be just yet. But we got us a big old front mount intercooler, 6-inch core, which is sitting next to the clutch. This big guy right here, it's a On3 Performance. You know, it's a Chinese core, but it flows. It'll probably support 16 horsepower, you know, so air to air. I didn't go air to water because I don't want to have to deal. I've done it in the past, running water. And one, it's just added weight, and then two, you're constantly have to deal with ice and draining the tank and doing all that shit. And the other thing is, like, I'm not trying to go out here and run 6s in a quarter, but I'm also want to daily drive it. So air to air, that should do everything that I needed to, and then some. So yeah, so this is the bracket for the front mount. It just drops in there. You tilt it up, bolt it down. I made the brackets for the radiator. And I decided, as you can see, this is actually, it kind of looks like gunmetal. They call it black chrome for spray paint. So I'm going to do the whole engine bay in that color. That's one reason why I pulled the mock-up motor. The other reason I pulled the mock-up motor is I can't use it to fab up the cold side of the turbo or the hot side of the turbo, because that oil pan is not modified like it is on the race motor. And let me show you. So this is the built motor, but if you remember, I had my buddies modify the pan for me to give me some extra clearance. And so with these tough mounts, and I got to clean them bolts. They were on the mock-up motor, but the tough mounts, you got 2 spots on the small block Ford K member where you can drop the motor in. So this is a UPR small block Ford K member, and you got these slots here where you can drop it in. And so I want to be able to get the motor down as far as I can and try to tuck it back as far as I can without hitting the firewall, because I can't cut the firewall out, streetcar reasons. But anyhow, when I was trying to position it with just the oil pan unmodified, I was hitting the steering rack. And I've even got the offset bushings that drop the steering rack down. I believe it's 1/4 inch. So unfortunately that was getting in my way, so modify the oil pan. So if you watch any of the previous videos, you'll see where the oil pan is modified, and we also put some baffles in the sump to help with oil slosh, you know, because that is a bit of an issue on when you start making bigger horsepower on these cars, or at least on this motor. People deal with oil starvation, so we'll see what helps. If it doesn't, then whatever, then I'll have to adjust fire and probably go dry sump, but I really don't want to do all that, because again, street car. Let's see, what else have we done? You can see that the underside has been painted because I crawled up under there and greased the whole underside of the car, primed it, and then I painted that. It's a Nardo gray, and the reason I decided to go with the gray instead of the black is, one, it looks good under there, and then two, if I get any kind of leaks or something like that, at least I can identify it instead of it being black, like a lot of people do. Other thing we did was fuel tank mount. So I got a 12-gallon race cell. It's with the rear sump style. And so I just finished this up earlier last week before Thanksgiving. And so made it out of round tube. I know you see a lot of DIYers use like angle iron and square tube, and I think that looks like shit. I can't stand that stuff. And so I just went and got some round tube, or ordered some round tube, and then I got some flat stock that I bent on my bender in there, and I made a mount. So it's all primed up right now. I just got to paint it, and then we're going to put some scallop strips in here. I got to do all the scallop strips so I can then cut carbon and seal all this in, because it's not going to be exposed like this. And then I also have to, because the fuel cell is in the rear and not in the front, I have to make a firewall. So the other thing is I need to put scallop strips in and then build a firewall out of carbon. So what I'm going to do is, my wife actually, my birthday just recently passed, and so she bought me the metal Ray-Bans, which I think are pretty dope, which has inspired me to get back into making content. So I'm going to swap those on, and I'm going to kind of just like haphazardly mount everything so you can see how it goes in. I'm not going to drop the motor in, but at least you can. I'm just going to kind of set everything up and see how it all fits. But yeah, so all right, hold on, let's swap over. Let's make a video with these bad boys. These are the Gen 2s that record in 3K, and I've had them for a week now, and they're pretty awesome. So let's make a video with them. All right, so we're up and recording. Phone's sitting there. I just set the intercooler on the mount. Let's grab the radiator so I can show you how that mounts. All right. So I do have the fan for this. It's just not bolted to it. There's no reason to have it on there right now. Okay. So this drops down into these mounts, which, again, everything I've made by hand out of flat stock and round tube. And then this has got some riv nuts on the ends of the tube. It allows me to run these 10 mils in there, if I could get it out without dropping it. My hands are cold, it's freezing. So this goes here. Get in there, you booger. Alright. So I'm not going to tighten it all the way down, but that's how the radiator mounts. And it just sits just above the filler neck, or not a filler neck, it sits just above the thermostat housing on the Barra. So just above it, so hopefully we don't have issues with getting air out. And then as you can see, that's how the front mount mounts in there. When I tighten these down, these are actually got tension. These will come down just a little bit, not all the way down, but this thing is solid once it's fully bolted in. Which you can see it's got two on top, and then the other two bolts under here, and then I got a bash bar across here so intercooler doesn't get hit, hopefully. Now when I took my measurements, I made sure that the front fiberglass bumper goes right over it perfectly. So, which is sitting over here. I know it looks like shit right now because it's December 1st and I've had leaves, and well, this is what happens when you don't have enough room. But the intercooler sits perfectly just under this lip and at the very bottom of the bumper, so it goes just around it. But I'm going to get one of the big ovals here. It's a ring that you can get from More Chassis and Fab, so I get airflow across the radiator. Alright, now for the fuel cell. And then lastly, a little bit of other things I got to do is, so like, you know, like I said, I painted that black chrome. So all this is going to go probably to the black chrome, or I might just let it fade into the black, because I do like this Scott Rod panel here. And then another thing is I'm looking for roll-up doors. So if anybody knows where I can find some factory roll-up doors, because these are completely gutted. So like these, I'll just pull the hinge pin out, and I'm going to put a bolt in there, or like a quick release pin in here, which is kind of common. You got to drill it out a little bit, but anyhow, you put a quickly use pins. This way I can swap doors. So when I street drive this thing, I can roll the windows down and I'm not sweating my balls off. Okay, what else do we need to do? Well, all the interior shit. So, seat mounts. I still got to make seat mounts. And then I got to cut that out for the transmission, which I still need to get from Alan Morgan. I got to finish paying him off on the trans, remove that. And then, anyhow, seat. I got carpet. I'm actually going to wrap the dash, and I'm going to kind of make this thing look a little pimp. I've got the panels for in here, so when you look into the car, you can at least see some of the panels. I don't want it to be completely raw and 100% race car, but yeah. And then parachute mount. I don't know how I feel about it. I mean, I did that because I didn't want to run round tube all the way across just for a parachute mount. You know, so I just used that little 1/2-inch tube of chromoly, bent it, welded it there so it's up out of the way. You know, this is for the Motion Raceworks parachute cable kit. Yeah, so it's slow and steady progress. I'm not in a huge rush. You know, as I've said in other videos, like, it's just, you know, life is kind of like taking its toll. We've sold the business or in the process of starting a new business, which I'll be using these to generate content with. But yeah, like I said, as I'm looking back here, you know, I took a plasma cutter, cut all that out so that I can put the firewall in. Yeah. Alright, so the fuel cell, which is that 12 gallon, this is what I got off Jegs for like, I don't know, 120 bucks. It's got dash 8 inlets and outlets, and it also has the, your, what do you call it, analog style fuel level sending unit in there, which is cool because the Haltech actually has a little conversion deal that you can plug into it, so it'll read it. Like I said earlier, you know, I made all this out of round tube, TIG welded it in, and then I've primed it because I didn't want it to get rusty because, well, the car is just underneath my little cardboard here. I'm going to show you how I did it. And then I made the tie-down straps for the top out of aluminum flat stock. You know, I got this at Roll King, and then I used my little mini bender that I have in the garage to make these. Just took my measurements, as you can see, marked it with paint pen, and bent it. And luckily, I hit it on the first try. I mean, I had to, like, kind of just massage it a little bit, but not a whole lot. So let's put the fuel tank in. So you can see it's got the rear sump. And when I made this is intentionally sloped from its high sides here. It's intentionally sloped backwards when the car is sitting on the ground, because the car is level now, but it's intentionally sloped backwards to ensure that the fuel is always going to the rear of the tank. So take that out. So it sits in there just like that. And then these, okay, I got a long side and a short side. So the short side goes up top. Long side goes back here. And then the other thing is the way these are bent, it forces the tank forward to keep it, because I don't want the tank to slide back and forth, you know, on acceleration and braking. So anyhow, that bolts down with the little 10 mils there, and that's how the rear tank is mounted. Pretty simple. Then I'm just going to put my battery. I've got to make a battery mount here because I'm using a small skinny battery. But I got to make my mount here. Then again, like I said, scallop strips, which are like the strips like this, and they have little like half moons cut out of them, and then they're drilled so you can rivet your panels in. But yeah, so that's how that's mounted. And you can see it hangs out just below the rear bumper, and hopefully it's far forward enough that if I happen to put this thing on a bumper, hopefully I don't drag that, because God, that'll be a bad day. And then lastly, a little bit of update on the Barra. I'm not going to gatekeep information. I know people are looking to get into the Barra, and I'm not calling anybody a gatekeeper or anything. And I'm not saying that, but just like anything in motorsports, when you're doing something new or trying to do something different, people will gatekeep information, and they will not tell you where to find shit. Or they'll not tell you the cheaper option of basically the same exact part. So, you know, I've been fiddling with this now for 2 years and coming up on about to finish it. Now, this is obviously a Ford it's technically a modular engine. It's got overhead cams and it's an inline 6. This ATI balancer is for a Cobra. If I want to buy the ATI balancer that's specifically for the Barra, that has the hub, that, you know, this hub right here, that's for the Barra, you know, I'm looking at whatever that is, $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 plus tariff plus shipping to come from Australia, which these are made here in the United States and then shipped overseas, and then they ship them back to us. So what we ended up doing is I had the hub machined. I took it to a local machine shop, and he turned the hub down just ever so slightly to the same size as the Barra, but this is literally the same dampener that you would use on the Barra. But instead of spending $1,200 to $1,300, you can get this for like $600. There's another thing. No Prep Racing. These guys out of Australia, they make the this is the driver's side alternator mount kit. So you would use your standard alternator that's like you see like a 2-valve Mustang that sits in the valley. And it just goes right there. So you find easy to find parts. Boom. That goes there. But everything is like final assembly. You know, all the gaskets are in. Plasma in. Delete plate for the water pump, because I'm just going to run an external water pump. No power steering. So the only belt I need is for the alternator. I haven't put the bolts in this yet, but spark plugs are in it. All the gaskets are in it. Tough mounts, that's in. Still got to put the rear main seal in. Put most of the sensors back in it. Some of the ones that were in good shape. But yeah, she's ready. She's actually ready to go in. I'm probably going to end up putting it back into the car this week, but depending on what the weather does. And then for your oil filter, this is off of my old Coyote race car. Well, it's literally the same part number. So a lot of stuff you can find is interchangeable. You don't have to buy specifically Ford Barra stuff and then pay shipping fees and tariff fees and all that stuff. Other thing, so the glasses are only recorded 3 minutes. So anyhow, the hub on the back side of the crank, so if you're looking for a clutch or flex plate, flywheel, whatever, this is the same thing as a 351 Windsor. So your pilot bearing and your flywheel will be, or flex plate, will be the same thing for a 351 Windsor, but it can either be a 157 tooth or 160. But I think the more common one is 157, and I believe it's like a 10.5 inch or 11 inch. But instead of buying a clutch or a converter flex plate kit from Australia, you can get this. You can get all this stateside. So something else to consider. One of the common things people do with these is they actually drill these out to go to a larger bolt. There's two guys. There's Curtis Greenway and somebody else. They have a jig that you can bolt onto this, and then drill out the holes and then re-tap it. Some people don't even bother. They just use like a special type of Loctite. They might even tack weld the flywheel bolts on, or you can get one of these if I can find it. Where are you at? Where'd you go? I got a plate. There it is. So this guy right here. So these Maculec, I think that's how you say it. This actually locks the bolts in place. So I got one of these to hopefully keep the bolts from backing out, because the Barra does have an issue with harmonics, and they are known to have the flywheel or flex plate bolts slowly back out over time, especially if you're going to be racing them. So this little guy, this insurance, is well worth the money. It's weight in gold. So there's that. So right, and what do we got over here? So this is all stainless. Oh, there's that cover. This is all stainless tubing that I got to make all my exhaust stuff. So this is 4-inch, 3.5 inch, and 4-inch piping that I'm going to use to fab up my own exhaust. And that I'm not going to talk about just yet, because I have to order some other stuff so I can show you. But that's what my idea for the exit, I think, is pretty cool. Some people may not like it, but if you don't like it, I think you're retarded. But yeah, this is, the little bender that I make my brackets with. It's a little Harbor Freight compact bender. I really didn't know how to use one of these until I just watch videos on it. If I forget, I just watch and, oh yeah, that's how you do it. So use this. I got my little Everlast multi-process welder sitting out there on the cart. old school, I mean, this is a really old Craftsman drill press, hydraulic press, a variety of steel cutting tools, and then of course bandsaw, another drill press, vice grip. Got my little welding table that's currently just holding all my drills and clamps. You can get these off of Jegs. These are already pre-made cut tabs, so they got a variety of different tabs if you're looking for them. So I've already used them. I use these to actually reinforce the parachute mount in the back, because it was just, you know, it's a T-bar, and the piece of the tube that comes out like this is just welded to another bar, and there's nothing here. So if that just gets somehow yanked off, you're relying on just the weld that goes around, and I didn't feel too comfortable with that. So what I did is I took 2 of them and I weld these in place to just give me some added security, so it's going to be really hard to shear off the weld that way. So just little stuff like that. I know it's added weight, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Yeah, I mean, just a bunch of Harbor Freight stuff. You know, you don't always need the fanciest stuff under the sun to get things done. You know, and then I've got a variety of specialty tools, and honestly, most of them have probably come off of Amazon or Vevor. You know, or it's been like handed down to me. Well, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this video. I hope that was not necessarily informative, but at least some of the stuff that you know about the Barra, the crank, and oil filter, and you know, little stuff like that might be able to save you some money. But I appreciate you guys tuning in for the update on the old Barra. You can see little brackets there. And I also got on the, like I was talking about earlier, on the parachute mount. But anyhow, gonna continue charging forward a little bit by little bit, and hopefully we'll be racing this season. So appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, have a good one, be safe, and stay warm out there. It's freaking cold.